From the brooding eyes of Edward Cullen to the dark depths of the Batman, Robert Pattinson has long captivated audiences with his mystery and magnetism. But beyond the screen, his real-life love story is just as compelling and far more intimate. As one of Hollywood's most enigmatic leading men, Robert's romantic history is filled with quiet intensity, rare public moments, and deeply personal relationships. From a teenage love before the fame to the headline-making romance with Kristen Stewart, the creative soul of FKA Twigs, and finally to the steady, private bond he's built with Suki Waterhouse, every chapter reflects a man evolving not just as an actor, but as a human being. His love life hasn't been loud, it hasn't been messy, but it's been real, layered with growth, heartbreak, and healing. So, if you're ready to follow the emotional journey of one of Hollywood's most private stars, from teenage beginnings to a love that feels like home, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the untold love stories of Hollywood's most fascinating icons. 1. Nina Schubert, first love, lasting respect. Before the fame, the red carpets, and the blockbuster franchises, Robert Pattinson's first love was quietly rooted in friendship, familiarity, and home. That love was Nina Schubert. They weren't just neighbors, they were best friends. Growing up side by side in London, they shared dreams of acting, music, and one day making it big. Their bond slowly blossomed into a romantic relationship that lasted from 2003 to 2006, marking Robert's formative years as both a young man and an emerging artist. But when Hollywood called, starting with his breakout as Cedric Diggory in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Robert moved to Los Angeles, and the two eventually parted ways. Still, their separation wasn't one of heartbreak or drama. It was a parting built on mutual understanding, respect, and emotional maturity far beyond their years. Nina remained a quiet presence in Robert's life, even after they broke up. Years later, during the media storm that followed his breakup with Kristen Stewart, she was one of the few people who offered comfort without conditions, encouraging him not to make decisions in moments of pain. Though rumors once hinted at a potential reunion, Robert and Nina chose a different path, a lasting friendship. They stayed in touch, always with affection and warmth, grounded in the history only childhood friends can share. Some loves don't fade, they evolve. And sometimes the best endings are the ones that let respect take the lead. 2. Kristen Stewart and Nikki Reed, a love written in twilight. When Robert Pattinson stepped into the world of Twilight, he wasn't just entering a global film franchise, he was stepping into one of the most public love stories of the decade. During those early days on set, Pattinson formed deep bonds with his co-stars, most notably Kristen Stewart and, briefly rumored, Nikki Reed. While gossip columns speculated about Robert and Nikki after a few offset sightings, both parties denied anything beyond a friendly working relationship. Nikki would later clarify that she admired Robert, but they were never more than castmates, no matter what the headlines tried to imply. But with Kristen Stewart, it was different. From the very first audition, director Catherine Hardwicke saw something electric between them. Pattinson once described Kristen as serious and cool, while Kristen admitted their connection was real, fueled not by celebrity, but by shared experiences, long filming days, and the quiet intensity of two young artists navigating fame for the first time. Though they kept it private for years, their relationship became undeniable. The 2009 MTV Movie Awards sealed the moment. Fans watching them nearly kiss on stage were watching more than a performance. By 2011, Kristen confirmed what everyone suspected. Robert wasn't just her co-star, he was her boyfriend. For a time, they were Hollywood's most beloved couple. Young, mysterious, and deeply connected, they became a symbol of a generation's obsession with epic, emotional love. But in 2012, everything changed. Kristen was photographed in a scandalous moment with director Rupert Sanders, sending shockwaves through fans and tabloids alike. Kristen issued a public apology, admitting her mistake, and expressing deep love and respect for Robert. But the damage was done. He moved out. They briefly tried again, but by May 2013, it was over. Years later, both would reflect on that relationship with clarity and even tenderness. Kristen described it as real but immature, full of emotion but overshadowed by fame. Robert rarely spoke about it, never bitter, never dismissive, just quietly respectful, as he always is. For the world, it may have been a tabloid epic. For them, it was real. And then, in May 2023, something unexpected happened. At a private birthday party in Los Angeles, Robert looked across the room, And there she was. Kristen, uninvited, but somehow perfectly placed in that moment. They embraced, softly. No cameras, no red carpet, just two people who once shared something profound, acknowledging it with grace. Not all love stories need a dramatic ending. Some fade, some evolve, and some, like Robert and Kristen's, leave behind a quiet note of mutual respect long after the applause fades. Three, Katy Perry, a friendship too rare to risk. As the dust of Twilight began to settle, another name quietly entered the orbit of Robert Pattinson's personal life: Katy Perry. But unlike past romances, this story wasn't defined by passion or scandal. It was defined by something far rarer in Hollywood: true friendship, with just enough spark to make people wonder. For years, Robert and Katy were inseparable at events, parties, and quiet dinners. They laughed easily, leaned in close, and shared the kind of comfort that didn't need to be performed. Katy once told LUK in 2013 that Robert felt like a little brother to her, but not everyone was convinced. After Robert's breakup with Kristen Stewart, whispers of something more between him and Katy started to spread. In 2013, they were spotted attending concerts together. By 2017 and 2018, those rumors hit a fever pitch. The two were seen sharing an affectionate hug at a dinner party. One report claimed they kissed at a restaurant in Los Angeles. Another suggested Robert even stayed at Katy's place for a time. Some believed they were testing the waters, considering whether friendship could turn into something more. But if there was ever a line to cross, it seems Robert chose not to. Sources close to the pair suggested he was cautious, afraid that if things didn't work romantically, the friendship they cherished could be lost forever. Katy, on the other hand, was reportedly open to the possibility of something deeper, perhaps even hoping for a future together. But the timing, it seems, never aligned. Neither of them ever confirmed a relationship. Yet their bond remained steady. No fallouts, no tabloid drama, just a connection filled with warmth, loyalty, and perhaps a touch of what if. Some stories never become romances, not because they weren't strong enough, but because they meant too much to risk. Riley Keough, a moment misread. In the summer of 2013, the streets of Los Angeles lit up with their usual celebrity flash, but one fleeting image sent a wave of whispers across Hollywood. Robert Pattinson, recently out of a highly public breakup, was spotted driving with a red-haired woman beside him. Fans and paparazzi quickly jumped to conclusions. Was it Riley Keough? The idea seemed magnetic. Riley, granddaughter of Elvis Presley, carried the same quiet mystique Robert had become known for. Both were artists with complex family legacies and a taste for staying under the radar. The thought of them together felt, to many, like a cinematic pairing, two brooding, creative souls crossing paths in the chaos of fame. Speculation escalated fast. There were rumors of weekend plans, talks of shared time together, even suggestions that something deeper was brewing. Some called it a creative connection. Others suggested it was nothing more than two friends navigating the same strange spotlight. But as quickly as it started, the story unraveled. Riley's team publicly denied the sighting, stating she wasn't even in the photo in question. She later clarified there was no relationship, no romance, no hidden story, no drama. Just a case of mistaken identity amplified by the public's deep desire to believe in another Hollywood love story. Still, the moment lingered, not because it meant something, but because people wanted it to. Sometimes, what the world sees as the beginning of a love story is simply a moment, quiet, fleeting, and never meant to be more than that. Five, Dylan Penn, a brief pause between chapters. In late 2013, as Robert Pattinson quietly distanced himself from the frenzy of Twilight, a new name surfaced beside his: Dylan Penn. The daughter of Sean Penn and Robin Wright, Dylan wasn't just another Hollywood it girl. She carried herself with quiet confidence, uninterested in chasing the spotlight. A model with ambitions of becoming a screenwriter, she was carving her own path, far from red carpets and flashing cameras. And for a moment, that simplicity seemed to meet Robert exactly where he was: in transition. The rumors began when they were spotted together at the Viper Room in Los Angeles. They were later seen sharing a relaxed evening at the Chateau Marmont, laughing, eating snacks, and chatting in a way that felt easy and unforced. According to close sources, Robert was drawn to Dylan's grounded energy. She didn't try to impress, and he didn't have to perform. They shared a handful of low-key outings, including a music event where Robert reportedly made an effort to connect with Dylan's father, Sean Penn. It wasn't grand or dramatic. It was casual, curious, and possibly healing. But as quickly as it started, the story quietly faded. Just a few weeks later, the two had drifted apart. Some speculated that Robert was still holding on to the past. Others believed that while the connection was real, the depth he needed wasn't quite there. Sometimes, in the space between heartbreak and healing, we meet someone kind, steady, and just out of sync. Dylan was that for Robert, a quiet breath in the middle of his emotional reset. 6. Netty Wakefield. Art, quiet company, and a moment misread. Not every chapter in Robert Pattinson's love life comes with flashing cameras and public declarations. Some unfold quietly, between two people who simply enjoy each other's company. That was the case with British artist Netty Wakefield. In early 2014, just months after headlines linked Robert to Dylan Penn, he was spotted having a quiet dinner in London with Netty. It wasn't extravagant, just two people sharing food, laughter, and familiar glances that made fans and tabloids wonder. Was this more than friendship? Netty, known for her hauntingly beautiful reverse portrait drawings, had long been part of London's creative circles. She and Robert shared mutual friends, and perhaps more importantly, a shared love for the arts. Around the holidays, their time together seemed to increase. Sightings at casual hangouts, quiet moments, playful teasing. At one point, an insider described them as giggling like school kids, with Robert gently messing with her hair, an image too personal for some not to question. But just as the rumors gained traction, they were gently dismissed. A close friend told E! News that the two were simply very good friends, nothing more. And truthfully, that seemed to fit. There was no grand story here, no explosive ending or romantic betrayal. Just a connection that felt soft, possibly healing, a small reprieve from the chaos of public love. Not every closeness is romantic. Some are quiet collaborations of comfort, unspoken, undramatic, and maybe just enough. 7. Imogen Kerr, Just Another Night? Or something more? By mid-2014, just as Robert Pattinson was reclaiming his quiet routine post-Twilight, another name briefly appeared beside his, Imogen Kerr. A model and aspiring writer, Imogen moved in the same artistic circles as Robert. Their paths crossed in the youthful, creative scene of Los Angeles, nights filled with film people, musicians, and writers quietly trying to stay out of the spotlight. One of those nights caught the attention of paparazzi. Robert and Imogen were seen leaving a popular hangout spot in Hollywood, laughing, close, and, according to some eyewitnesses, looking very sweet together. The speculation came fast. Reports said they dined at the Little Door and shared intimate body language. Some even labeled it a new romance. But the narrative shifted quickly when sources close to Robert told E! News that nothing romantic was happening. They were with friends, not alone. And Imogen, it turned out, was also close with Dakota Fanning and her then-boyfriend, Jamie Strachan, longtime friends of Robert. It was, many believed, just another night out among friends. Still, a few outlets clung to the idea of a deeper connection, noting that Imogen had ties to Kristen Stewart's social circle, sparking the kind of layered drama only tabloids can create. Was it deliberate? Was it complicated? Or was it simply coincidence? Robert, as always, remained silent. Some stories never unfold beyond the whispers. They exist in the space between a flashbulb and a closed car door. Real, maybe, or maybe just imagined. 8. FKA Twigs. A beautiful, brave, and broken love. Some love stories aren't made for the tabloids. They aren't flashy or easy to label. Some are layered, imperfect, and deeply human, just like the one between Robert Pattinson and FKA Twigs. They met in 2014, introduced by mutual friends. And not long after, the world saw them, hand in hand under the sun in Venice Beach. It was a quiet beginning to a relationship that would last nearly 3 years, defined not by public displays, but by deep connection, creative synergy, and, ultimately, the cost of being seen. FKA Twigs, born Tahlia Barnett, was no stranger to artistic integrity. An experimental musician, dancer, and performer, she was fiercely original, exactly the kind of person Robert admired. In interviews, he spoke of her with reverence, drawn to her authenticity and strength. But the world wasn't always kind. As their relationship became public, a portion of Robert's fan base responded with vitriol. Twigs was subjected to racist, hateful messages, labeled ugly, unworthy, not enough. In a later interview, she said the abuse made her feel deeply uncomfortable in her own skin. It was a brutal reminder of how cruel fame could be. Robert did speak out, calling the attackers the worst kind of basement-dwelling trolls. But love, no matter how real, struggles under the weight of constant scrutiny, and in a world that demanded they explain themselves, they simply tried to live. By April 2015, news broke of an engagement, perhaps accidentally revealed by rapper T-Pain. Robert later gave a half confirmation. Kind of, yeah. But fans saw the ring, the shared moments, the quiet hope. For a while, it seemed they'd found a rhythm together, appearing at events, carving out space for love amid busy lives. But by late 2017, the silence between them grew louder. Distance, schedules, and the slow erosion of intimacy took their toll. Rumors swirled that Robert had ended things. The engagement ring disappeared. And just like that, the story ended, with no statement, no scandal, just two artists quietly moving on. Their love wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And in a world that demands filters and facades, that alone made it unforgettable. 9. Mia Wasikowska, chemistry without complication. After the deeply personal chapter with FKA Twigs came to a close, Robert Pattinson found himself back in his element, on set, immersed in story. This time, it was with Mia Wasikowska, his co-star in the eccentric indie western damsel. On June 13, 2018, the two arrived at the film's Los Angeles premiere, walking the red carpet with quiet elegance and undeniable chemistry. The way they moved together, the ease of their interaction, it sparked the usual whispers. Were they more than just co-stars? But the reality was far simpler, and perhaps far more beautiful. Damsel was a strange and satirical take on the Western genre, where Robert played a naive romantic on a misguided rescue mission, and Mia portrayed a fiercely independent woman uninterested in being saved. Their on-screen dynamic was awkward, funny, and sharply modern, just like the film itself. Off-screen, they were professionals. No headline-grabbing romance, no speculation-fueled drama, just two artists dedicated to their craft, known for valuing privacy and chasing roles that challenge rather than flatter. If there was magic between them, it wasn't the kind that fuels tabloids. It was the kind that happens when two actors speak the same creative language, quietly and without needing anything more. Not every spark leads to a fire. Sometimes it just lights the scene, and that's more than enough. 10. Suki Waterhouse, A Quiet Love, finally rooted. By the time Suki Waterhouse entered Robert Pattinson's life, the spotlight had already softened. The noise of past relationships had faded, and what followed wasn't a headline, it was a home. In the summer of 2018, they were first spotted walking hand in hand through the streets of London. No red carpet, no official announcement, just shared smiles and the kind of quiet ease that hinted at something real. From the beginning, their love grew in the background. For years, there were no interviews, no dramatic moments, just subtle glimpses. Movie nights, casual brunches, cozy walks through New York. While the world speculated, Robert and Suki built something private and remarkably strong. She moved in with him during his filming of The Batman. He attended her intimate shows. They showed up for each other in ways that didn't need to be broadcast. When Suki gently clapped back at a Gossip Girl reboot for mocking their relationship, fans got a rare peek at the quiet protectiveness they share. Then, in late 2022, they made their first official appearance together on the Dior runway in Egypt. The moment was elegant, understated, and perfect. Soon after, Suki was seen wearing a diamond ring. By the end of 2023, reports confirmed what fans had long hoped. They were engaged and expecting. Suki made the announcement her way, on stage in Mexico, hand resting on her belly, beaming. In March 2024, they welcomed a baby girl, and Robert, usually so private, couldn't help but gush. "She smells so good," he said, smiling, "and she's already showing such a strong personality." Suki, in turn, called him a wonderful father. Today, they live simply, with coffee runs, walks through Los Angeles, and afternoons at the park. No tabloid drama, no fame-fueled distractions, just love lived quietly. In a town that feeds on spectacle, Robert Pattinson found something better. A love so steady, it didn't need an audience to thrive. From the glow of Twilight to the grit of indie cinema, love has always followed Robert Pattinson, not as a headline, but as a heartbeat behind the scenes. His romances with Kristen Stewart and FKA Twigs left echoes of passion, complexity, and growth. But it's his quietly built life with Suki Waterhouse that marks the most meaningful chapter yet. As of 2025, Robert is not just an acclaimed actor. He's a father, a partner, and a man who's found peace beyond the camera flashes. In March 2024, he and Suki welcomed their daughter into the world. And in the quiet moments that followed, the walks, the breakfasts, the lullabies, he stepped into a new kind of spotlight. One that shines not for attention, but for the life he's building. Which chapter in Robert's love story meant the most to you? Tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another deep dive into the untold love stories of your favorite Hollywood icons. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.